And hi again, everyone. Welcome to the Donovan Live Postgame Show on WKYC's Facebook Live. I'm Dave DiNatale with Jim Donovan. Happy to have you with us here on this Wednesday night. Get to the NFL in a second. A lot of things happening around draft rumors as we get closer and closer to the NFL Combine. It was interesting, though, Jimmy. Today a lot of thoughts were on the passing of Billy Graham, the Reverend Graham, at age 99, and piece that we ran at Channel 3 News at 6, it showed when Billy Graham was at Cleveland Stadium, the old stadium, in 1994. Now, that was first thing, the place was, I think they had 85,000 people.
I remember it, yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. That was the first year, of course, when, Art Modell, as landlord of Cleveland Stadium, had no baseball games 81 times a year. He just had his 10 NFL games. If you were lucky in that year, they had a playoff game. But they just had Billy Graham. Do you remember when the stadium also, they brought in an amusement park at one point? I don't know if you remember. It was, they did everything to the stadium to try to attract non-baseball activities.
I remember, I can remember well, I think it was Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Pink Floyd came in and the outfield grass just got shredded. And the Indians, I remember playing, they still were, I think it was in September.
Yeah.
It didn't matter because the Browns had played some preseason games and maybe even the start of their regular season. Pink Floyd came in and the Indians were still playing. But boy, when you went to the game, it was just the whole setting of seeing the field just chewed up and you're watching a baseball game.
Right.
And at that point, you just said to yourself, it was really amazing. So that's when the Indians did move over to the brand new ballpark, you said to yourself, you know what? They really deserve it.
Yes, exactly.
They really deserve it.
Exactly.
We deserved it, and they really deserved it too because they played the red-headed stepchild always over there to the Browns because the Browns were able to do, not that you could do much over there, but the Browns could fill it.
Yep.
The Browns had the choice of when they could play. Obviously, they had their preference of dates and when they could be at home and what they could do on preseason. I remember when they used to Art Modell, the Browns would play a preseason game and then the Beach Boys would come out and play.
Yes.
It would be a Saturday night. Yeah. Air Supply, I think, was there one time.
They did everything they could to try to just get as much business to that stadium as they could. Right, yeah. And it just brought back, seeing the piece that Brandon Simmons had put together, it just kind of brought back memories of, because that was obviously the last summer when everything was good, when the Indians had moved to the new park, the Cavs were moving to the new arena, and the Browns were still here with no issues.
They were plotting.
They were still a year away from moving, but it just kind of brought back those mememories. But
I want to go back to that time. There was, and I don't know if it was that summer or the summer before, but probably that summer. And the Indians were, I think it was the '94 summer, and the Browns had a controlled scrimmage on like a weeknight, okay, before they played a preseason game, and I can remember Art Modell being in the golf cart, driving around, and that was when people were trying to pin him down about what do you want in the way of a new stadium or renovating that stadium, which at that time he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because he still wanted to control everybody. He wanted to be the landlord still. He wanted to renovate and keep the Indians there, and there was a wacko plan where he wanted to drop down the level of the stadium. But I do remember that night, and that's the night that kind of came back and haunted him a little bit when he made the move, because he was in a slow stew.
Yeah.
You could tell that the success the Indians were having in the stands and at the gate and definitely on the field, and it was really bothering him a great deal. And he also realized that his sweet customers had left.
And they were not renewing. They were not going to be renewing in big numbers.
They had to make a choice. They had to make a choice. What do I want to do? I'm going to go up the street to the brand new ballpark. The team is great. The ballpark's beautiful.
Yeah.
Plus, I have 81 dates there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it made me remember kind of those times when it was the year before the Browns left, and I think Mark Price, who was still with the Cavs at the time, introduced, I don't know if he introduced Billy Graham, but he was there. He was a big part of that Billy Graham celebration. I mean, Mark was a singer. I think he still is, a Christian singer.
I remember one time, again, I love this show because we can go down memory lane.
Yeah.
I remember when Mark was in the height of that Doherty, Price, Elo, Hot Rod,
Nance era.
Yeah, that era, and they were really good. I remember, again, he played in a game at the Coliseum, and then as soon as the game was over, they rolled out a stage, and he, along with a Christian singing group that he was involved in, they gave a concert.
Right.
And it was really good.
It was great.
Yeah,
it was great.
That was the beauty of that Cavs team. I mean, this new era of Cavs, I mean, they're phenomenal talent-wise. These guys were just really good teammates back then.
Yeah. And
there were no rent-a-players.
Nope.
You were with them. You were hoping to be with them, and you were with them for a long period of time. They all lived like on the same street.
Right. They all lived like in Bath or in Hudson or somewhere that was convenient to get to the Coliseum.
That's right.
Because some of us know. Now, during those days, I lived in Strongsville. It was very convenient for me to get to the Coliseum. But I can understand, like, if you lived in Menor or if you lived in Avon Lake, it was not very convenient to get to the Coliseum to go watch a Cavs game.
When we would go cover the Cavs and we would try and time, when the post-game situation was going to come up to get into the locker room, you'd be downtown here.
Yeah.
And you'd say, okay, I got to get out to the Coliseum. So really at halftime, you had to, if you weren't going to be there for the whole game, you had to leave and to make sure that you covered the time that it was going to take to get in there. And then remember, the Cavs at that time, when they were good, they were drawing 19,000, 20,000 a night, and you had to find a parking spot.
It was not easy.
It was like one way in and one way out, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was Willy Wonka's chocolate. I mean, nobody ever gets in or gets out. I mean, it was so hard to maneuver. They even put a Black Road entrance to come off.
Love the Black Road.
The Black Road. That's how I used to sneak in off.
I used to love the
21.
Dairy Queen up on
21. Absolutely. Okay, so all that aside, this is an interesting week in the NFL because the Combine is coming up in Indianapolis, and so now a lot of prognosticators around the country, and even our own Ben Axelrod on WKYC.com, he's got his first mock draft out. A lot of people are doing their mock drafts. Eye-opener today from ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr., still kind of the grand marshal, so to speak, of the NFL draft. Cleveland Browns with the first overall pick. He's projecting Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen, number 1, and then Minkah Fitzpatrick, the corner from Alabama, at 4.
Yeah, which is consistent with what he's been doing. And there are a lot of other drafts, and there are millions of them that are going to come out, but there are a lot of other people that have them more connected to Sam Darnold of USC. But you're right, Kiper has been really, even pre-Senior Bowl, I would say, right?
Yeah.
I think he's been on the Josh Allen bandwagon. Now, there are some people that believe that John Dorsey talks to Mel Kiper a great deal, that there's a backstory on this. It's just like the story that goes around that the Browns' interest in Baker Mayfield is because John Dorsey, even before he became the general manager of the Browns, really liked watching Baker Mayfield play, and that Scott McCloughan really liked watching Baker Mayfield play and liked him so much that he would talk about him wherever he would go next. Well, as we find out, next was here, at least as a consultant with the front office right now. But getting back to Kiper, I mean, I think that some people believe that he has a relationship with John Dorsey and that maybe he is saying, hey, listen, I think I'm going to be right because when I talk to Dorsey, and this is all in the pretend world.
This is what I'm reading. This is what I'm reading from him.
This is what I'm reading from him.
Yeah. So you have that, and then the NFL Network's Mike Mayock had one of his conference calls, and a lot of these guys will do that. McShay, like once a month, will have a conference call between now and the draft. Kiper will have one, and Mayock will have one. So Mayock really kind of raised my eyebrows, Jimmy, with a couple of quotes today. No quarterback in this year's draft, according to Mayock, is in the same category as Carson Wentz. Now, that's obviously that's one man's opinion, but that's somebody who has made his bones by evaluating players and certainly quarterbacks. Mayock does that. So he doesn't think any of these guys are in the same category as Wentz. He looked at the red flags. For Baker Mayfield, it's the off-the-field stuff. For Josh Rosen, it's the injuries. For Sam Darnold, the turnovers. Particularly, I think in 27 games, he had 21 fumbles at USC. 14 of them he lost, not mentioning interceptions. So
well, let me just say this.
Yeah.
We lived through that last year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
right here in Little Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, come on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, this is what happens now, folks. Is that everybody is. We talked about this. People are going to start picking apart every prospect that comes out there to find their deficiencies. I was hoping that there would be somebody this year, and I hope it really rings true, that there would be a quarterback this year that can rise to Carson Wentz's level, an MVP type level, but it's hard to say that right now.
Well, and the right now part is exactly what I was going to chip in here and add to you. I'm trying to remember that pre-combine, I think a lot of people, I don't know that the Carson Wentz fan club was as populated as it was after everybody got a chance to meet him and watch him at the combine, okay? Because everybody was kind of poking, first of all, remember, he was injured that last year. He had a broken wrist, I think.
Right. There wasn't a big body of work.
He played, I think. Did he miss 8 games?
Yeah,
or he played 8 games?
I think he missed 8 games.
All right, so he came back and he played, and a lot of people then were saying, hey, come on, North Dakota State.
Right.
Look at the schedule they play. So I think it was after the combine and when people started to meet him and then do the personal workouts, and then you're allowed, the Browns will be allowed, I think, to bring in upwards of 30 draft candidates to come in and visit in Berea, and when the kid comes in and you really get a chance to visit with him for more than 15 minutes down in Indianapolis or a half hour or whatever it is, then you get a better read on him. So I just remember that Carson Wentz, not that he was a late bloomer, but I think anyone right now that would say that there's not a Carson Wentz yet. Well, I don't know that there was a Carson Wentz back when Carson Wentz was doing it at that time. I really don't.
Yeah.
I can't. I think everybody had Jared Goff up there, but again, it was a short sample size with him. So.
Right, so that's 2. Now, the other opinion, and you can read all this right now at WKYC.com. Ben and Matt Florjancic have compiled a lot of these reports. David Carr, of course, brother of Derek Carr, the former first overall pick from the Houston Texans, Fresno State quarterback, he's working for the NFL Network. He's saying if he were running the Browns, if he were John Dorsey, he would take the running back from Penn State, Saquon Barkley, first overall, and not even look back. I know, despite the need for the Browns to get the quarterback, he thinks the Browns should just turn the card in for Barkley, no problem. If they are to take a quarterback, though, he says about Josh Rosen, I think he's the only one that could play right now.
Yes, but I don't think the Browns want a guy to play right now. Okay,
yeah.
And I think that. That's an interesting thing about Rosen because, again, the sample size of Rosen is small, and then there's a red flag there. And, some people say it's his personality, but let's just go with the red flag that we know about. He's been hurt a couple of times, and he's missed a number of games in playing for UCLA and the time that he spent out there in Westwood playing for the Bruins. Now, I would say this. I really believe that as we go down this road, and it's really coming upon us pretty quickly here, okay, the new NFL business year. Do you know what the Browns are going to do at number 1 and number 4, what they're going to do at the top of the second round, and all of those 5 picks in the first 2 rounds will totally be dictated, everybody, by what they do pre-draft in free agency and getting a quarterback. But here's the thing I throw out to everybody. Every one of these quarterbacks, they're not dummies, okay? They all know they're going to get paid somewhere. But don't you think that one of the first questions they're going to say to the Browns, not the 0-16 question, not the 1-31 question after that, not what are you going to do in the draft, but maybe this part of the draft. What are you going to do at number 1 with that quarterback decision? Are you going to bring a quarterback in here?
Right.
And I'm going to sign with you.
Right. For multiple years.
Yeah, for multiple years. And I'm going to be teaching a young quarterback pretty quickly. And am I going to be like Mike Glennon, who gets paid a ton of money to sign away from Tampa Bay and go to the Bears, and then the Bears go and get Mitch Trubisky, and 3 or 4 games in, I get lifted. I'm hooked. I think that's going to be the question of A.J. McCarron, Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, Kirk Cousins, all of them. They're going to say, hey, what questions do you have for me? Okay, now here's my first question to you. What are you doing at number 1? Yeah, what are you going to do at number 1?
Because Denver, you don't have to worry about that question. If Kirk Cousins signs with Denver, Denver's not going to draft a quarterback. Then I mean, they're not going to with that 8th overall pick or whatever they have.
Yeah.
I mean, same with like the Jets. Same thing. I mean, the Browns have 2 picks, so that's 2 chances to get a quarterback, and everybody says they need a quarterback. So I think that's going to be. And the other question I'm sure will come up is, depending on Joe Thomas, what are you going to do at that left tackle spot to keep me protected?
I think they're going to have to get. I think they're going to have to get a left tackle.
Yeah.
Whether he comes back or not, I think that they realize right now, and I think the head coach of the Browns realizes that right now there is not a left tackle on that roster except Joe Thomas. If he decides not to come back, they have to get a left tackle. Now they may have to get one immediately.
Right.
Okay, and maybe even go into the free agent ranks and try and get one, or if they don't, they're going to have to go get one very early in the draft. This is not considered to be an exceptional offensive lineman draft, and in particular, left tackle.
Right.
So that's a predicament that might be in front of them. But yeah, I do believe that. I think they have to get one anyway.
Right.
But I think the amazing thing is, I think right now they realize on that roster, they don't look at Joe Bitonio going to left tackle. I don't think right now they feel that the kid Roderick Johnson that they got last year from Florida State is ready certainly to go in and play, and he's a project. And I don't think they want to take, and I don't know that they feel the particular individual I'm going to bring up, Sean Coleman, can go over and play from right tackle to left tackle.
I'm going to say it, and I promise this will be the last time I say it. That's why you should have kept Mitchell Schwartz, guys. Okay. That's last time I'm going to bring that up.
There's a guy out in Bay Village that will totally agree with you by the name of Deacon.
Yes, I'm just saying. So, all right, so we're going to keep our eyes on all that as we get closer to the Combine. Last thing, Jimmy, the Cavs will start up the really, it's not the second half because they've only got, 26 games left, but they'll start things out tomorrow night against Washington. And I'm like you. You mentioned it tonight during Channel 3 Sports. I'm just excited to see these guys, the new guys, play at home. See what see Larry Nance Jr. being able to play in front of his home, the home family and friends, and
he's probably eating well.
Right, I'm sure he is. That's right, I'm sure he is. But get him, get Clarkson over here, and the rest of the guys in Hood, and let them be able to go out and play. And let the fans here get a look at this team that really. I think exceeded expectations with those couple of wins before the break.
I think there are 2 major stories in the NBA for the final 26 games, and none of them are in the Western Conference. No. I think there are 2 major stories. Number 1, the Cavaliers. Okay, I think they're right up at the top of the list because they really pulled it out of the fire in 2 ways. Number 1, they really dramatically improved their roster from where it was.
Right.
And number 2, in doing that, they have had to pique the interest of LeBron James to consider Cleveland very heavily beyond this year. That's number 1, the major story. Number 2, the other major story will be the Celtics.
Yes.
Okay? The Celtics right now have played into the All-Star break in a funk.
Yeah.
They went stale. But maybe they'll be rejuvenated, and you got to find out where they are and what they'll be able to do. And there are some people out there in crazy old Boston that believe that if the Celtics turn it around and start playing much better, they'll be watching Gordon Hayward to see if there's any possibility that he can come back and join them in the playoffs, which I think would be dangerous and a real stretch. But I think those are the 2 stories. For some reason, people continue to leave Toronto out of the discussion. But I think the Celtics, because of the way they played early on and really led the way in the Eastern Conference up until the All-Star break, I think people are wondering, will Brad Stevens get them going again? Will Kyrie Irving be healthier?
Right.
Because he was nicked up a lot. Can they get Tatum going again, the rookie? Can they get, the kid Brown
going,
playing a little bit better than he was at the All-Star break? If they get retooled once again, that's going to be interesting to watch. Yeah,
it's going to be a fun second half and stretch run. And then, of course, for the Cavs, it's getting Kevin Love back, and that's all he could talk about during the All-Star break. So we'll look forward to whenever that happens. All right, Jimmy, as always, thank you so much. We'll see everybody back here tomorrow night.
Yeah, I am looking forward tonight to watching the women's gold medal hockey game between the United States and Canada.
USA.
11:10 on the NBC Sports Network.
There you go.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
All right, for Jim Donovan, I'm Dave DiNatale. Thanks for watching the Donovan Live Postgame Show right here on WKYC's Facebook Live.